embroidery or sewing, the Baby Lock Ellure will cater to you. Choose from the 78 built-in stitches to create garments, quilts, and beautiful heirlooms that can be passed on from generation to generation. Produce one-of-a-kind embroidery using the 18 exclusive Noah's Ark designs that are built into the machine, or choose from the endless selection of embroidery cards. The Baby Lock Ellure gives you the ability to make every project fun and relaxing. When learning to use your Baby Lock Ellure, use the video in conjunction with your instruction book.
To begin setting up the Baby Lock Ellure, the power cord plugs in on the right side of the machine. This is the cord for the foot control, and the main power switch turns the machine and the sewing light on. At times, changes in the temperature may make part or the entire screen lighter or darker. It's a simple adjustment to make. While touching the LCD screen, turn the machine off and then back on. To make the screen lighter, touch the sewing key. For a darker screen, touch either the operation guide or the stitch adjust key. The Baby Lock Ellure has 5 selection keys to choose from. Touch the sewing key to select from over 78 stitches. The embroidery and memory keys are used when the embroidery arm is attached. The operation guide key provides basic guidelines for operating the machine. Touch stitch adjust and the screen displays stitch width, stitch length, and thread tension. Simply adjust any of these settings by touching the appropriate letter. When the adjustment has been made, touch End. There are 11 languages built in the Ellure. Touch Operation Guide, then Next, and then Language Selection. Touch Next to page forward through the language selections. Then simply touch the language of your choice. You can control the sewing speed range by the amount of pressure you apply to the foot control, or by adjusting the speed range control lever conveniently located on the front of the machine. In the left position, the machine sews more slowly. As you move the control to the right, the speed range increases to maximum speed. Use the Start-Stop button when the foot control is not connected, and the Baby Lock Ellure will sew at the maximum speed set by the speed controller. This button lights up in green when the machine is ready to start sewing. If the machine is not ready to sew, the button lights up in red. The button lights up in orange when the bobbin winder shaft is engaged. Touch the reverse stitch reinforcement button to sew either reverse stitches or reinforcement stitches. When sewing a straight or zigzag stitch, touch this key to sew in the opposite direction. On any other stitch, the machine will sew reinforcement stitches, which are 3 stitches sewn on top of each other. Touch the needle up-down button to bring the needle up to the highest position or down to the lowest position. The Baby Lock Ellure has an automatic thread cutter. Touch the thread cutter button and the machine automatically brings both top and bobbin thread to the underside of the fabric and cuts them. It also raises the needle to the highest position. A wide assortment of specialty presser feet are located in this compartment on the extension tray. Slip off the entire tray and your Baby Lock Ellure converts to free arm sewing. In this position you can easily sew hard to reach areas such as pant hems or sleeves. For built-in threading instructions, touch the Operation Guide key and the screen displays a selection of illustrated threading guides. Touch Winding Bobbin. Touch Next to continue through the directions for bobbin winding. To wind a bobbin, place a spool of thread on the spindle and cover the end with a thread cap to prevent tangling. There are 3 sizes of spool caps included in the accessory pouch. Use the spool cap that corresponds to the size of spool being used. Bring the thread through the bobbin winder tension following this numbered illustration. Place the bobbin on the winder shaft, matching the spring on the shaft with the notch on the bobbin. Holding the thread, wrap the thread around the bobbin clockwise 4 or 5 times. To trim the thread, pass it through the slit on the bobbin winder seat. Slide the speed control lever to its maximum speed. Push the bobbin to the right and start the machine. When the bobbin is full, stop the machine and push the bobbin to the left. Cut the thread and remove the full bobbin. Push the bobbin cover release to the right and lift the clear cover. Drop the bobbin into the shuttle so the bobbin turns counterclockwise as the thread unwinds. Bring the thread under the bobbin tension and through this curved groove. Pull the thread to cut it and replace the cover. With the Baby Lock Allure's quick set bobbin feature, it isn't even necessary to bring the bobbin thread up through the needle plate before you begin to sew. For upper threading, raise the presser foot. This releases the thread guard and ensures proper tension when sewing. Bring the thread through this numbered thread path, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6. The needle threader will carry it right through the needle eye. Push the needle thread lever all the way down. Bring the thread to the left, around the hook, and to the right between the prongs, and a mini hook will catch the thread. Release the lever and thread simultaneously. Pull the loop of thread to the back and place it under the foot. Now you're ready to sew. The Baby Lock Allure has 78 built-in stitches to choose from. Selecting and customizing a stitch is easy. When the machine is turned on, this screen displays the first of 10 screens. The stitch and the presser foot to be used is illustrated at the top. Touch Next to continue to the next screen. Touch here to go to the previous screen. When you touch the desired stitch pattern, Zigzag for instance, a diagram of that stitch and the recommended presser foot will appear. Touch this symbol to highlight the automatic reinforcement stitch key, and a reinforcement stitch will be sewn at the beginning of the stitch. Touch the scissors to activate the automatic thread cutting, and the Baby Lock Allure will trim the thread when the stitch is complete. To deactivate either function, simply touch the key again. When a stitch is selected, the Baby Lock Allure's computer adjusts the width, length, and the tension settings most commonly used for that stitch. To view the settings, touch Stitch Adjust. To adjust stitch width, touch W to widen the stitch. It can be set to a full 7 millimeters. To narrow the stitch, touch N. To adjust the stitch length, touch L for a longer stitch, and touch S to shorten the stitch. Increase the tension by touching S for a stronger stitch. Decrease the tension by touching W to weaken the stitch. When Auto is highlighted, the thread tension is at the default setting. Touch End to return to the main menu. For sewing information on specific technique, touch here to display the selections. Touch the desired technique, touch the stitch of your choice. Page through the directions by touching Next. The settings will be automatically selected for that specific technique. There are several options for straight stitching available on the Baby Lock Allure. Select the stitch according to the type of fabric and seam to be sewn. This is the left needle straight stitch, and this is centered needle position straight stitch. This triple straight stitch is perfect for seaming heavy knit or woven fabrics, and this stretch stitch for seaming light to medium weight knits. The basting stitch is great for temporary seams. When the machine is turned on, the left needle straight stitch is automatically selected. To sew a seam that will be reinforced, highlight the reverse symbol on the screen. Begin sewing the seam. When approaching the end of the seam, touch the reverse button and the machine will repeat the reinforcement stitch that is stitched at the beginning of the seam. If you select the left needle option, the stitch width adjustment allows the needle to be moved into 14 different positions. Touch Stitch Adjust and touch W to move the needle to the right in 0.5 millimeter increments. Touch N to move the needle to the left. This is a great feature for sewing multiple rows of top stitching with precision. Align the fabric edge with the side of the foot. For each new row of stitching, simply move the needle position. A flat fell seam is a good choice to reinforce seams on garments that will take a lot of wear and tear. With the wrong sides together, sew a conventional seam. Press the seam allowance to one side. Trim the lower seam allowance to 1/8 inch. Turn under the upper seam allowance 1/4 inch. Pin folded seam allowance, concealing the trim lower edge. Edge stitch on the fold. Remove the pins as you sew. The zipper foot eye that comes with the Baby Lock Allure is designed to stitch next to a raised edge, and it snaps on for added convenience. Select the center needle straight stitch. Touch this key, and the necessary adjustment for zipper insertion will be made. To attach the zipper foot, touch this lever on the back of the presser foot to release the foot. Position the zipper foot so the bar across the foot aligns with the groove on the shank. Lower the presser bar to snap the foot into place. Position the zipper foot to the left of the needle when the zipper is being sewn to the right side of the needle. Change the position of the foot to sew down the other side of the zipper. This basting stitch is ideal when you need to test the fit of a garment before sewing the seams permanently. The stitch length choices are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 millimeters. Lock the stitching by highlighting the reverse button and the automatic thread cutter. Simply sew the two layers of fabric together. When the seam has been permanently stitched, the basting stitch is easy to remove. There are 3 zigzag stitches on the Baby Lock Allure, a standard zigzag and 2 elastic zigzags. You can overcast edges to minimize raveling or use it creatively by making stitch adjustments. One of the most common adjustments is a satin stitch for applique. Select the zigzag stitch and reduce the stitch length setting to 0.4 or even smaller. Presser foot N gives you a clear view of the stitching, and the cutaway channel on the other side allows dense stitching to pass through smoothly and evenly. Fuse an applique design to the background fabric. Place a tearaway stabilizer beneath it to support the stitches. Stitch around the cut edges of the applique, guiding it so the left swing of the stitch falls in the applique and the right swing of the stitch falls just over the edge and into the background fabric. The Baby Lock Allure certainly sews a beautiful satin stitch. No matter what fabric you're working on, the Baby Lock Allure has the overcasting stitch to accommodate that fabric. Touch next to view the selection. Use this stitch on lightweight to medium fabrics. This stitch for thick or heavy fabrics. This stitch is for medium to heavyweight stretch fabric. And this is for medium stretch fabric. Use these 2 stitches on stretch fabric. Select this overcasting stitch. Presser foot G is the suggested foot to use with this stitch. On presser foot G, the runner extends lower than the base of the foot, so it guides the edge of the fabric perfectly straight, and this narrow bar underneath the foot keeps the fabric flat as you sew and prevents it from puckering or tunneling under the stitches. It's the perfect stitch for finishing seam allowances. Place the fabric edge along the guide of the foot and sew. It's easiest to cut out all the pattern pieces first, overcast the raw edges, then construct the garment. Select this overcast stitch because it's ideal for seaming knits and attaching rib trim because it seams and finishes at the same time. For garments that have a 1/2 inch to 5/8 inch seam allowance, sew and then trim the fabric close to the stitching. That is a professional looking finish. The Baby Lock Allure has 2 blind hem stitches. One is designed to hem woven fabrics and the other for hemming knit fabrics. Both stitches use presser foot R. Place the fold of the fabric on this guide on the presser foot for precise invisible stitching. If you can't remember the folding procedure for blind hemming, the Baby Lock Allure has that information at your fingertips. Press this key, select blind hem stitch, then next, then the blind hem stitch of your choice. A how-to illustration will appear animated on the screen. Simply touch here to advance to the next page for complete instructions. Turn up the finished edge to the desired hem length, and then fold it back, leaving a 1/4 inch ledge. Place the fabric under the foot so the final fold aligns with the guide ledge on the underside of presser foot R. To adjust the needle position, touch Stitch Adjust and adjust the stitch width until the needle just catches the fold of the fabric. It's that easy to sew a nearly invisible hem on woven or knit fabric. There are 10 built-in buttonhole styles on the Baby Lock Allure. Touch next to view the first set of buttonholes. All of the styles use presser foot A. Use the first rounded buttonhole for blouses and skirts, and this one for jeans and trousers, and this one is for suits or overcoats. Use the bar tack buttonhole for garments made of light to medium weight fabrics like shirts or pajamas. This buttonhole is for stretch fabrics with a coarse texture. Use this one on lightweight or medium knit fabrics. Select this buttonhole for leather or suede. It can also be used when constructing bound buttonholes. This keyhole style is used for suits and overcoats. Touch next to go to the next screen. Touch this style keyhole for jeans and trousers, and this one for thick coats. Using the marker that's provided with the Baby Lock Allure, mark the beginning, end, and center position of the buttonhole on your fabric. Attach the foot to the presser bar. Place one of the buttons into the sizing gauge of the special buttonhole presser foot A. Now the buttonhole will be custom sized automatically. Align the red marks on the foot with the marked beginning and center position on your fabric. Press the needle down button twice to place the thread under the presser foot and then lower the foot. Pulling down this lever activates the buttonhole mechanism. Position the lever behind the metal bracket on the buttonhole foot. If you try to sew without the lever in position, the Baby Lock Allure will flash a help message to correct your error. With 30 built-in error messages, the Baby Lock Allure helps take the mistakes out of sewing. Gently hold the end of the upper thread and begin sewing. Notice that it straight stitches the side first, which stabilizes the size of the buttonhole and prevents stretching later. Then it zigzags in reverse. For the other side, it straight stitches to stabilize, forms the bar tack, zigzags in reverse, then forms the second bar tack and locks the stitch. The beauty of the Baby Lock Allure's buttonhole is that sewing both sides of the buttonhole in the same direction creates an even, balanced appearance. The Baby Lock Allure will automatically stop with the reinforcement stitch. If the automatic thread cutting key is activated before sewing, the machine will cut both threads automatically when the sewing is complete. To avoid cutting the stitches when cutting the buttonhole open, place a small amount of seam sealant on the stitches and let it dry. Place a straight pin on each end of the buttonhole. Then use the seam ripper that comes with your Baby Lock Allure to cut the hole. That pin prevents any accidental cuts. Perfect results every time. Simply adjust the width and length settings to customize any buttonhole style. Stitching over a gimp thread creates a bolder buttonhole and stabilizes the buttonhole in stretch fabrics. Begin with a 10-inch strand of gimp thread and loop its midpoint over the toe at the back of the buttonhole foot. Slip the ends into the slot at the front of the foot. While sewing, the stitching will form right over the cord. Remove the fabric from the machine and pull the ends of the cord to hide the loop under the far bar tack. Snip away the excess cord length. It's that easy to make a professional corded buttonhole. Buttonhole foot A is also used for the automatic bar tack stitch. This stitch is great for reinforcing pocket corners and belt loops. Use the gauge to set the bar tack length you want. Lower the buttonhole lever, positioning it behind the metal bracket on the foot. Lower the foot and sew. 3 rows of straight stitch plus a covering zigzag give you unequal durability. The automatic darning stitch takes care of little rips and tears in fabric, and the stitches blend almost invisibly when a color-coordinated thread is used. Set the sliding gauge a foot A for the desired darning length. Select the darning pattern on the touch screen for medium or this for heavy fabric. Pull down the button lever into position and sew. The machine forms parallel rows of straight stitching, then sews over those stitches with a side-to-side stitch. The stitch length and width can be changed to match the size of the tear. This stitch has been incorporated into this stunning quilt as a decorative stitch. What a creative way to use the eyelet stitch. This activity book will boost any child's imagination. There are 3 sizes of the eyelet built in the Allure. Touch Stitch Adjust and you will notice that the large eyelet is automatically selected. Attach presser foot N as the machine recommends. Place the fabric under the presser foot and sew. Now use the eyelet punch that comes with the accessories to punch out the center area of the eyelet. And the eyelet is complete. It's easy to sew on buttons with the Allure. Select this stitch. Attach presser foot M. To lower the feed dogs, remove the extension tray. Push the feed dog adjustment lever to the right, then replace the extension tray. Place the fabric under the foot and then slide the button into the foot, aligning the holes of the button with the red marks on the foot. Lower the presser foot. Turn the hand wheel to check that the needle easily goes into each of the holes of the button. If not, adjust the stitch width and check again. Start sewing. The machine will stop automatically when it's complete. Repeat this sewing step if extra strength is needed. When complete, pull the bobbin thread to bring the top thread to the underside, then tie the threads together. To make a thread shank when sewing on buttons, push the shank lever forward to extend this prong. The stitches will form over the prong and create a shank. When the sewing is complete, remove the fabric. Wrap the thread end around the shank and tie them together. Tie the ends of the bobbin thread together on the underside. Return the feed dogs to up position. This special applique stitch is similar to the blanket stitch. It is the perfect stitch to add a decorative touch to an applique. Both stitch width and length are adjustable. Turn under the seam allowance on the applique. Secure the edges with the applique stitch to simulate hand embroidery. The smocking stitch is another stitch on the baby Lock Ellure that has traditionally been sewn by hand. First, sew several rows of gathering stitches on the fabric. The baby Lock Ellure has the instructions and settings built in. Touch this key and then select Gathering. Touch Next to advance through the instructions. Touch Stitch Adjust and notice that the baby Lock Ellure has automatically set the left needle position straight stitch and has lengthened the stitch to 4 millimeters and loosened the tension settings for a perfect gathering stitch. Stitch and adjust the gathers to the desired width. Select the smocking stitch and sew in between the gathering stitches. When it's complete, remove the gathering stitches. What a beautiful finish! Patchwork stitches can add extra detail and dimension by simply stitching over the top of a joined seam. Try a contrasting thread for extra emphasis. The faggoting stitch was used to add the exquisite detail to this table topper. The effect is soft and delicate. Select this faggoting stitch. Press the fabric edges under and baste them to a strip of dissolving stabilizer, maintaining an even 4 centimeter distance between the edges. Sew the faggoting stitch down the center of the open space, guiding it so the stitches just catch the fabric edges on either side. When the sewing is completed, remove the basting stitches and stabilizer. It's beautiful. It's easy to create a shell tuck hem using this overcasting stitch. Touch Stitch Adjust and select the widest stitch width and increase the tension. Sew along the folded edge of a soft fabric so that the right hand swing of the needle drops just over the fabric edge. The zigzag portion of the stitch pulls in the edge to create a dainty scallop. Isn't that a lovely finish? Create ageless heirlooms with the heirloom stitches built in on the baby Lock Ellure. A twin needle and an extra spool pin are included with the machine. Place the extra spool pin here on the bobbin winder shaft. The twin needle has a single shaft with 2 needles attached. The needle is inserted in the needle bar with the flat side toward the back, just like a single needle. Both needle threads are threaded through the same threading path. Then each needle eye is threaded individually. The twin needle can be used with other stitches as well. Just make sure the stitch width adjustment allows the needles to clear the opening of the presser foot. To be sure the stitch is adjusted correctly for the twin needle, turn the hand wheel manually to make sure the needles are not hitting the presser foot. Decrease the stitch width setting if necessary. Another special effect in heirloom sewing can be created using a wing needle. The wing needle has a flange on either side that pushes the fabric fiber aside, creating a hole that is encased with stitches. Insert the wing needle into the needle bar with the flat side toward the back. For the best results, fabrics made from natural fibers are recommended. Fabrics that work well for hem stitching are handkerchief linen, cotton organdy, organza, and batiste. The fabric must have body for the holes to remain open. To aid in achieving this, spray starch has been applied to the fabric. You can also use a liquid stabilizer. Select this heirloom stitch and begin sewing. Look at the elegant effect hem stitching creates. Use hem stitching on heirloom projects like table linens, dresser scarves, blouses, christening gowns, baby bonnets, and more. The most exciting and distinguishing feature of the Baby Lock Allure is the ultimate creative potential found in computer-programmed embroidery. Setting up the Baby Lock Allure for embroidery is easy. Raise the needle to the highest position by pushing this button twice. Raise the presser foot. Turn off the Baby Lock Allure and remove the foot controller. Snap off the presser foot. Loosen the screw on the presser foot holder using the screwdriver included in the accessory packet. Move the presser foot holder to the back and remove it. Slide the bracket on the embroidery foot Q up onto the presser foot bar and then fasten it by firmly tightening the screw. Slide the extension tray off. Move the protective cover by rotating it to the right, then slide the embroidery mechanism into place around the free arm. Turn on the Baby Lock Allure and this message will display on the screen. Touch the check key and the embroidery arm will move into position for embroidery. When embroidering multiple color designs, it isn't necessary to change the bobbin thread color at all. The tensions are all set so that the bobbin thread doesn't show on the top side of the design, so one white bobbin can be used throughout. A lightweight lingerie thread is a good choice for bobbins. It helps eliminate bulk on the underside of the embroidery. If a lot of embroidery will be done, wind several bobbins ahead of time so extras are ready. If the bobbin runs low, the Baby Lock Allure gives an advance warning with this message. There will be enough bobbin thread to finish the color section, then insert a full bobbin. Choosing the proper needle and stabilizer for the fabric to be embroidered is an important part of the overall success of an embroidery design. There are several types of embroidery needles and stabilizers on the market to aid in giving you perfect results every time. Check with your Baby Lock retailer for the best advice on needles and stabilizers. To place fabric into the embroidery hoop, Place the outer section of the embroidery hoop on a flat work surface with the mounting bracket to the left and the adjustment screw at the bottom. With a water-soluble marker, mark the design center position on the fabric. Place the transparent grid in the inner hoop with the finger hole in the upper right-hand corner. Align the center line of the grid with the marking on the fabric. Put the stabilizer, fabric, and the inner hoop into the outer hoop. Tighten the adjustment screws. Remove the grid. Align the slots on the mounting bracket with the two knobs on the holder. Attach the mounting bracket onto the holder. Push down until it clicks into place. The screen now displays a choice of built-in embroidery patterns. There are 3 styles of letters and numbers, frame patterns, and 18 one-point mark designs. Touch this symbol to use a pre-programmed embroidery card. Touch this symbol to position the embroidery arm so the embroidery unit can be removed. Let's begin with the first style of lettering. The touch screen displays capital letters, or touch here to use lowercase. Touch next to proceed through the alphabet, symbols, numbers, and punctuation. Touch here to go to the previous screen. Large, medium, and small sizes are available. The computer pre-selects uppercase and large size letters. To program in a sequence of characters, simply touch the letter or number and it will be displayed at the top of the screen. Touch the lowercase symbol to change to lowercase letters, then select a letter. Touch the uppercase symbol to return to capital letters, and then select a letter. Touch M to change to a medium size. Touch S to change to a smaller size. Touch L to return to the larger size. To program in the word garden, touch G. Touch here for lowercase letters, select A, touch next, and then R. Touch here, then D, E, N. This error message informs me that the pattern is too big for a large frame. To add more patterns, rotate this pattern. Select the 90-degree rotation symbol to turn the direction in which the pattern is sewn. To add more letters, or touch check, then highlight medium to reduce the letter size. Touch the 90-degree rotation symbol to rotate the design. Enter the remainder of the word. Touch check to review the sequence. The automatic thread cutting is automatically turned on. If desired, you can touch the scissors symbol to turn off the automatic thread cutting. When the word garden is stitched, the baby Lock Ellure will embroider all the letters until the word is complete. When the multicolor key is highlighted, the allure will stop after sewing each letter so the thread color can be changed. Touch Set and more options are available. Touch Return to go back to the previous screen. Touch Enlarge Reduce to change the size of the pattern. Touch Layout to change the position or the direction of the pattern. Touch Help to search for a specific point in the embroidery if a thread breaks while sewing. Touch Layout to view the position of the pattern. Displayed on the left are the height and width of the pattern. Touch the 90-degree symbol to rotate a pattern. This rectangle illustrates the entire embroidery area of the hoop. This mark represents the center position of the embroidery design. This indicates the area and position of the current pattern. The directional arrows will reposition the design within the hoop, up or down, left or right, or even diagonally. Notice, as the position changes, the hoop position on the screen changes. Touch center to return the design to the original position. Touch this key to move the needle into the start position or the center position of the embroidery. By touching trial, the hoop will move under the needle, outlining the exact area the design will fill. Touch set to view the previous screen. Touch this key to switch the display from the size to the embroidery position of the pattern. Touch End, and then the Start-Stop button to embroider the pattern. To save the design for use at a later time, touch Memory button. There are 5 memory banks available when using the embroidery function of the Baby Lock Ellure. Touch Next to view the different memory banks. If something is stored in a memory, it will be displayed on the screen. When a new pattern is stored, the old pattern is deleted. Touch Memory 1 to store the word Garden. To line up a sequence of letters, begin by marking a guideline on the right side of the fabric at the desired location of the letters. The line should cover the entire area where the letters will be placed. Place the fabric in the hoop, lining up the guideline with the marks on the hoop. Select this style of lettering. To program in the words Baby Lock using the large size letters, program in the letter B. Touch the lowercase symbol and then A-B. Touch Next and then Y. Touch Next 3 times and then touch the space symbol. This error message will appear. Pattern is too big for large frame. To add more patterns, rotate this pattern. To add more letters, touch the 90-degree rotation symbol to turn the direction in which the pattern is sewn. Touch the space symbol again and then Next. Touch the symbol for uppercase letters and then L. Touch the symbol for lowercase letters and then Next and then O. This error message is displayed on the screen. Selected embroidery pattern exceeds the size of the large frame. Touch Check and then Set and then Layout. Right now the needle is positioned at the center of the pattern. Touch Start to move the needle to the starting position of the pattern. Use the arrow keys to line the guideline up with the needle. Touch Trial to check placement of the pattern. Touch End and then the Start-Stop button to embroider the letters. Remove the hoop from the machine by pushing the release lever to the left and lifting the hoop. Take the fabric out of the hoop. Place the fabric back into the hoop, lining up the guideline with the marks on the hoop and leaving the last letter sewn in the embroidery area. Touch O, and then this key, and then CK. Touch Set, and then Layout. Touch the 90-degree symbol until the arrow points to the right. Touch Start to move the needle to the starting position of the pattern. Use the arrow keys to line up the needle at the last basting stitch sewn. Touch Trial to check the placement. Touch the Start-Stop button to complete the embroidery. Another font style available on the Baby Lock Allure is the outline style lettering. It's a great option for adding a different look to your projects. Select this style. Touch S for small. Program in the word rainbow. Touch Set and then Enlarge Reduce. There are new options available on this screen. Touch this key to increase the size of your pattern. Touch this key to reduce the size of your pattern. This key is to return the pattern to its original size. Touch the 90-degree symbol until it points to the right. Touch Enlarge and increase the letters to the largest size. Touch End and then Multicolor. The machine will stop after each letter so the thread can be changed. It's easy to create your own rainbow of color. The built-in embroidery frame patterns on the Baby Lock Allure are extremely versatile. Use them for appliques, patches, or to frame lettering or your favorite embroidery pattern. Select Embroidery and then this symbol to display frame shape options. Touch Next to view even more frame patterns. Select a shape and the screen displays stitch options. Touch Next to see the next set of stitches. Select a stitch and touch Set. Touch Layout to check the size and position of the pattern. Touch Enlarge Reduce to change the size. Touch Stitch Adjust to adjust the thread density. To adjust the thread density, touch the minus to make the stitches coarser or less dense. Set it back to STD for the standard thread density. Touch the plus to make the stitches finer or denser. To adjust the thread tension, touch here to weaken or here to strengthen the tension. Set it back to Auto for the automatic tension setting. When stitch adjustment is complete, touch End. Creating an applique on the Baby Lock Allure is simple. Place a stabilizer onto the back of the applique fabric. Place fabric and stabilizer into the embroidery hoop. Select the frame of your choice. For this exercise, we will use the heart. Touch the heart and then the straight stitch. Embroider the frame onto the applique material. Remove the fabric from the hoop and cut out the heart design, trimming it close to the stitching. Remove the stabilizer. Place the stabilizer and base fabric into the hoop. Stitch the frame using the straight stitch onto the base fabric. Place a small amount of glue on the back of the applique and attach it to the base fabric. Select the heart and then the satin stitch. Then embroider the applique. There are 18 exclusive Noah's Ark one-point pattern built in on the Baby Lock Allure. Touch Embroidery and then the one-point pattern symbol. Touch List to scroll through all the available patterns. Touch Next to display the next screen, and touch here to see the previous screen. Select a pattern. The screen displays the design in its various color components. In the left-hand corner is a display of the amount of time remaining to stitch the pattern, as well as the total amount of time required to stitch the pattern. The fish will be sewn in 4 stages using 4 colors of thread. Touch Thread Color to view the color suggestions. These thread color suggestions are for reference only. Of course, any color of thread can be used to stitch the pattern. Touch Pattern to return to the list of options. Touch Next and select this design. There are now 6 color changes, and the design will take 8 minutes to sew. To reverse the pattern, touch Set and then Layout. Touch the mirror image symbol. Touch End. The bird will now be illustrated in the reverse direction on the screen. Touch Set and then Enlarge Reduce. Touch Enlarge 2 times. Touch End, and now it takes 9 minutes to stitch the pattern. The design is ready to be sewn. To begin stitching, lower the presser foot. In this position, you'll notice that the foot doesn't quite touch the fabric surface. Touch the Start button. Take a few stitches and stop the machine. Touch the automatic thread cutter button to snip the beginning threads, then touch Start and allow the machine to continue on its own. Notice that the needle and presser foot are simply moving up and down in place. The mounting bar to which the hoop is attached is actually moving the fabric front and back and left and right to create the design. This allows for far more precise stitching than is possible with side-to-side needle movement, and is the reason the finished embroidery on the Baby Lock Allure has such a smooth and professional quality appearance. Oops, the thread broke. It's easy to correct this problem on the Baby Lock Allure. Touch Check for the help screen. There are several helpful options in this category. Touch Home to move the pattern back to the starting position. Touch Forward Search to select the starting position for the next color, and Reverse Search to select the starting position for the previous color. Touch Forward to move the hoop so the needle is positioned 1 stitch ahead without stitching. Use Back to move the hoop a few stitches back so the needle is positioned just ahead of the thread break. If you touch this key continuously, the stitching moves backward in jumps of 9 stitches, starting from the 6th stitch. To make sure there's not a gap in the design, simply touch Back and go back slightly before the thread broke. Rethread the machine and continue stitching. The Baby Lock Allure automatically stops when the first color section is completely stitched. Raise the presser foot before changing threads to release the upper thread tension. Clip the thread near the spool and remove the thread by pulling here at the needle. With the presser foot raised, the new thread will slip into the tension mechanism. It's easier to use the needle threader when the presser foot is lowered. Lowering the presser foot will hold the thread firm. Press Start to sew a few stitches, then stop and clip the threads. Press Start again, and the Baby Lock Allure will skillfully sew the next segment of the design. It's so rewarding to watch as the design begins to take shape. There's one more thread color change to make to complete the design. Notice the machine speed varies, sewing faster in some areas of the design and more slowly in others. The needle speed is timed by the computer to coordinate with the movement of the fabric. When the fabric has to move a larger distance between two stitches, the needle goes more slowly to accommodate that. When the distance is smaller, the needle can stitch more quickly. It was easy to create this lovely design in just 9 minutes. Built-in embroidery patterns on the Baby Lock Allure certainly provide a wide variety of design options. The pre-programmed cards expand those options even more. To get you started, 2 pre-programmed cards are included with the Baby Lock Allure, and dozens more are available through your favorite Baby Lock retailer. With new embroidery cards being developed all the time, you'll want to check with your retailer often. To use the embroidery cards, turn off the Baby Lock Allure and insert an embroidery card. Insert it into the slot at the right, and you'll hear it click into place. Turn the Baby Lock Allure on and touch Check, and then the embroidery card symbol, and the first page of patterns are displayed on the touch screen. Select this pattern. Large and small sizes are available. Touch Multicolor to join those components and stitch the design in a single color instead. To stitch only the bow section of the design, touch Set and then Help. Touch Forward Search until the bow color section is displayed on the screen. It's simple to stitch just one section of a pattern. The alphabet and crest card provide beautiful designs in 6 different styles. The screen displays the various lettering styles. All the styles except Old English include both capital and lowercase letters, as well as numerals, and each style is available in 3 different sizes. The letters and numbers are entered in just the same way as the built-in letters and numbers. Touch the crest symbol and you'll see there are 5 crests available on this card as well. Simply touch select the first crest and embroider it. Touch Embroidery and then the card symbol. Select the Old English style of lettering. Touch B, Set, Layout, and then Trial to be sure the letter will fit inside the crest. Embroider the letter. What a classic design. To return the Baby Lock Allure to conventional sewing, touch the embroidery key to return to the main menu. Touch this symbol to return the embroidery arm to the storage position. Turn the machine off and remove the embroidery card. Push this release button to remove the embroidery unit. Close the protective cover and replace the accessory compartment and change the presser foot. Purchasing Lock Ellure sewing and embroidery machine is an important investment. Here are some tips to keep it in top condition. The Ellure is equipped with a 130/705H needle system. Change needles often to ensure perfect stitch quality. Lint builds up rather quickly in and around the shuttle area. If not removed, lint could build up and cause many problems such as inconsistent stitching, or it could cause the bobbin thread sensor to malfunction. To clean the shuttle, begin by loosening the screws on the needle plate with the screwdriver found with the accessories. Remove the needle plate. Take out the shuttle. Remove the lint using the lint brush found with the accessories. When complete, place the shuttle back into the machine by aligning the shuttle projection with the spring on the right. Replace the needle plate and tighten the screws.
I know you enjoyed seeing all the wonderful features the Baby Lock Ellure has to offer, and I know you'll enjoy creating your own designer looks for years to come. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to write us. Baby Lock USA, Education Department, P.O. Box 730, Fenton, Missouri 63026, or visit our website, www.babylock.com.